NASCAR is still looking to add a Chicago street race to the schedule, maybe as soon as 2023. And is the Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott feud, if we can even call it that, already over? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. We've got a special episode today. Dave Moody from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio will be joining us in the second half. Haven't really done something like this in a while where we invite other panelists almost into episodes. I know you guys are used to hearing me talk, but that's something I kind of want to do this year, is bring on some other voices from time to time, some insiders, if you will, to add additional insight into hot button NASCAR issues. So he'll be coming on here very shortly. But first, I want to talk about a report from Adam Stern, Sports Business Journal, that he tweeted yesterday. He says NASCAR remains in talks to bring a street race to Chicago, and the working goal is to hold the event for the first time next season in 2023. The talks are said to be ongoing and complicated, so they could still collapse without a deal. Stern adds in the Sports Business Journal article that NASCAR is not expected to release the 2023 schedule for several more months, so give it some time. But yes, NASCAR is still in discussions with the city of Chicago about hosting a street race near Soldier Field, right there on the edge of downtown. Now, this isn't shocking news to hear. I mean, less than a year ago, NASCAR was doing an iRacing event on the streets of Chicago. iRacing came out and actually scanned the city streets and put them into the sim, and NASCAR televised it on FS1 to hundreds of thousands of viewers. So NASCAR has not been very subtle about their hopes, their wants, their intentions to run a street race in Chicago in the near future. It's all about those X's and O's. How likely is it that this gets done in time for next season? How likely is it that Chicago and local city officials will be okay with this, will be able to reach some sort of agreement? That all remains to be seen. Chicago is a big city. It's difficult to do things there. So NASCAR has their work cut out for them if this race is ever going to happen. Now, my thoughts on this really have not changed since last year, since whenever the last time we talked about it was. I still think it's wise for NASCAR to race near or in urban areas. I think the LA Clash a few weeks ago proved that racing near downtown can be very successful. Even if you're not racing in a traditional NASCAR venue, like the LA Coliseum, not a NASCAR track, not a racetrack at all. The streets of Chicago, not a racetrack either, but NASCAR and its new cars are more versatile than they have been previously. Anything that brings the product directly to the people, I support. Obviously, a street race is extremely expensive. Heck, the LA Coliseum, it sounds like, was fairly expensive. So you can't do this all the time unless you start to see a serious return on that investment. But once in a blue moon, maybe once a year, some of these experiments, I'm in support of them. NASCAR is not in a position where it can just sit on its hands and do nothing and hope to naturally grow over the next 10 years. No, they have to take risks. The LA Coliseum was a risk, and I think for the most part, it was a success. A Chicago street race would be a huge risk as well. It would be a huge financial risk for sure, but I think it would be a success if it happens. Is street racing necessarily the best venue for NASCAR stock cars, even with the new, more agile next gens? No, probably not. Would it be a great race? No, probably not. But maybe it'd surprise us. Either way, a one-off race in the streets of the third largest city in the United States, a big sports town like Chicago, the spectacle alone, the buzz that would create, the outside media attention and outside fan attention, I think would be well worth the risk. So I still hope a Chicago street race happens. I know fans are gonna say, what about Chicagoland? It's right there. The name Chicagoland, I can't say it's misleading because it's actually correct. It's near Chicago, sure, but it's not in Chicago. The track's like an hour away. I think if NASCAR wants to continue to be recognized as a national sport, more and more races are gonna need to be held closer to people. Urban areas with a high density of people. In Chicagoland, one, it's just another mile and a half. Sure, one of the better ones, but it is a mile and a half. There's a half a dozen similar to it, but it's also out in the suburbs, almost rural areas of Illinois. I don't see that kind of venue being attractive to NASCAR, at least not in the near future. I hope the street race happens. Sounds like they still have a lot of hoops to jump through, so just a little update there. This week, a lot of fans are still talking about the Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott incident at the end of the Auto Club 400. It's not the Auto, who even sponsored this race? The Auto Club race. Larson moving up into Chase Elliott, blocking him into the wall to protect the lead, ultimately went on to win the race. Now, I didn't mention this in my post-race reaction video because it wasn't tweeted until I was already editing and almost uploading the video, but Tyler Mon tweeted, "Today I made a mistake. I will take full responsibility for what happened on track today. I was worried more about the 22 and not the 9. It was a late call on me. It had nothing to do with Kyle." So the spotter there shouldering the blame for the incident. Obviously, Chase Elliott was very upset afterwards. Is this feud over and done with? Will Hendrick Motorsports step in and separate the two and make bygones be bygones? Let's get a second opinion on this. Joining me now is one of the most iconic voices in NASCAR, Dave Moody. You can listen to him live Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. Dave, how you doing today, man? Thank you so much for being on.
Great, Eric. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Well, I want to start with Auto Club this weekend. It was a fantastic race. I think many people were surprised by the show, the Next Gen car. And, we put all the hype on the Next Gen car, but the drivers deserve some credit as well. There were some great moves being made. I saw you tweeted after the race in regards to the, Auto Club short track conversion proposal that maybe after this race, those thoughts should be reconsidered. Do you think Auto Club Speedway will still be turned into a short track at some point? And at this point, do you want to see that happen?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but after watching that race, I'm not sure I would be on the side of tearing up the asphalt at that particular racetrack. I've been there since the beginning. I was there for the first race at Auto Club, and I remember the early years on the brand new asphalt where it was basically a one-lane racetrack. You just huddled up on the bottom and you followed the guy in front of you, and if he didn't make a mistake, you probably weren't going to pass. And we kind of lived with that for 5 or 6 years until that track started to age a little bit. And then the groove just gradually began to widen out until we got to the point where, first lap on Sunday, we see cars kicking up grass down on the apron, and we see cars all the way up to the safer barrier. Let's just put it this way. I like the idea of a high banked half mile. It's something, that would be a little bit different from what we have now. But I can think of 3 or 4, without naming names, 1.5-mile cookie cutter tri-ovals that I would rather see go under the knife for that particular experiment than Auto Club.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would agree with you at this point. My home track was Texas Motor Speedway. I know you're not naming names, but that was my home track for years. I don't know. It's seen better days. Me and my friends joke about turning it into a 3-mile super speedway. Everything's bigger in Texas. I don't know if that's ever going to be on the docket, but yeah, Auto Club was a fantastic race. It ended dramatically as well with teammates making contact. We heard Kyle Larson. We saw on Twitter Kyle Larson's spotter took the blame for that. I also saw you tweet this. I'm not just following you around on Twitter, I promise, but you tweeted that Rick Hendrick, he's got a history of bringing drivers together and kind of resolving these types of issues. So do you think this Chase Elliott, Larson, maybe resentment or rivalry, do you think it's over, or do you think it may continue into the future?
I think it's over probably right now. Rick Hendrick knows that if you run up front as often and as consistently as Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson do, it's only a matter of time until they come to grief together. It's probably a miracle that it hasn't happened before now. But the bottom line on it is this: everybody's hot, everybody's angry in the heat of battle, in the heat of the moment. The red fog of war, dropping down over your eyes and makes you say things on the in-car radio that you might not say on Tuesday morning in the competition meeting. But Rick Hendrick has been down this road before. He had to call Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson into the office and lay out the Mickey Mouse plates and serve cookies and milk and say, you guys want to act like kids, I'll treat you like kids. That was the end of the problem that day. I don't know if he's busted out the Mickey Mouse cookie plates again, but he will get this solved really quickly because, we as fans might love the idea of an ongoing, 6 or 8 month feud. It's just not going to happen because it's really bad for business and nobody wins in those scenarios. If Chase Elliott starts worrying about getting Kyle Larson back, he's not worrying about winning this week's race. And Mr. H is going to get that straightened out.
Absolutely. Well, Chase Elliott's done a lot of winning in recent years, but so has Kyle Larson the last year. And so I know Larson won the race this weekend, and it kind of on paper, he feels like you could, write this just off as another Larson domination kind of day, but it really wasn't. If you watched all 200 laps, Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, many more kind of maybe not smaller teams so much, but not one of the big 3 or 4 powerhouse teams running up near the front. Do you think this kind of parity is going to continue throughout this season, or do you think it'll fizzle out at some point and the Gibbs and the Hendricks will just start dominating in a few months?
I think it's a heck of a lot of fun right now. But the best way to predict the future is to look at the past. And since 1949, when we started up this crazy game, the teams with the most money, the best financing, and the best people generally win more often than not. It's a lot of fun right now to see Eric Jones, to see Tyler Reddick, to see Daniel Suarez running up front. And I don't doubt that they have the ability to do exactly that. But it's not unusual after 2 races in a season to look at the point standings and see some unfamiliar names. I think that over the long haul, the teams with the most resources and the smartest people and the most people are probably going to figure this new car out to a higher degree than the people without any of those things.
Probably a safe bet. Well, Dave Moody, again, you can listen to him every day, every weekday, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. You can also listen to him on MRN on a race day most weeks. So, Dave, really appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Again, thanks to Dave for joining the show. Really appreciate that. And be sure to take advantage of our special SiriusXM offer. You can click that link down below and get 3 months free. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll be back here tomorrow. We have plenty more to discuss. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR nearly every single day here on Out of the Groove. Always something new happening in the world of stock car racing. As always, a big thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. Couldn't do the show without your continued support. I truly, truly appreciate it. We'll be back later this week. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you again very, very soon. Take care.